Yeah, all right. Hello and welcome to Spitfire, Season 2, Episode 10. And finally, after the long road, we are now on the cusp of the biggest event in Call of Duty year on year, the legend maker that is Call of Duty Champs. This is our Champ special. It is going ahead this week, not next week, because we are going to be there, and that's not easy. So my name is Brice, and I'll be helping you bring all the topics and go through the groups as we start to break it down. Joining me, of course, Chris Tunn, doing production and jumping in when he feels like it. But more importantly, our guest for this week, the tactical Rab. Rab, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Brice. Working full-time now. The grind never stops.
Love it.
So yeah, it's been good. It's been a tough month, but we're still here, still living.
Good to hear it.
Anytime.
I know a few fans of yours in the old chat kind of coming on and
chuck it in the Discord. Everyone loves it.
Good to hear. Well, we will be keeping up with the chat as we go through this. We're going to cover all 8 groups and talk about all of these teams, and then we may kind of have a little soft prediction of who we think is going to win it. We're not going to go into the bracket though.
It's impossible.
And the reason for that is just how ridiculous, how it's too many variables. We never do it from groups into bracket because there's just too many variables to figure it out. We did bracket at Miami because it was just a straight bracket. You kind of guess how that's going to go. All right, so let's jump straight in then on what is maybe one of the easier groups. Although I say that, I'm looking at it now. Pool A, E United, Elevate, The Boys, and Firesticks Gaming.
I mean, is it one of the easier ones though?
Well, E United first.
I mean, yeah, we know that.
Put that in. Book that spot.
I think Fire Sticks have changed to RBL now, though, haven't they?
RBL, great.
RBL.
Are you not using CoD Esports Gamepedia, Bricey?
Yeah.
I'm using CoD Esports Gamepedia, yeah. And they're still called Fire Sticks on here.
Oh, you better hit the hot refresh.
Yeah, if you go.
Well, in fairness, I've got the placings up. That's what I've got, rather than
Miami.
I've actually got the groups off Deserto. So.
Okay, well, I'm on the groups on CoD Gamepedia. They're called RBL now.
And they've got the S capitalized in esports, which is like they're guaranteed to place 4th in the group after that one.
Yeah.
So then it's like, I mean, honestly, this is quite an interesting pool because E United should win, no problem. The boys have given themselves the best possible chance of qualifying. Like, I think they've got a decent shot. Like, obviously, from our perspective, we're probably pretty biased on the whole in favor of the boys over Elevate here. Like, because I think I'd predict them to come second, the boys, but like, it's not as clear cut as that. Especially, Elevate have been a decent team. They've had decent results. They've got good players. Like, that could easily be a game 5. It probably comes down to those two because RBL is Glory, Gunsy, Too Real, Clink, and Human Jesus. So there's some names there we know. But like, you know, I don't think they're the same caliber as these other boys, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the case here in this one, right? If you're honest about this, we know the boys when we spoke to them were hoping to get Elevate in their group. That's what they wanted. They wanted Elevate. You know, when we had the draw, it's a 50-50. They wanted Elevate.
Yeah, it's Elevate or A6. You absolutely want Elevate. Although 100%. At this point, based on E6's recent performances as well, you actually take any of them, really.
I think E6 probably have got more potential to
absolutely
put something together, you know.
Absolutely, but I honestly, this is one of the closer groups in terms of like who finishes second. You would say a lot of them really are quite one-sided, but realistically, Elevate or the boys, it could go either way. Based on what we've seen from the boys, for me, most importantly, was that Bance was playing pretty well in that Soga role. So I think that's a big positive for them. If they can get some level of champs Ben Bance, they should fucking cruise through the group. Absolutely. But
that's a great shout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to have a look at Firesticks' run through the open bracket. And
yeah, I don't know, because I mean they were top 16 in it because like that's how the draws worked, but it's not as simple as that because like I think is it Mazer, which is like Spacey's oh no, I'm getting that wrong. Well, okay, Mazer Spacey's team came 3rd, so ignore me. There was another team that like you'd expect to do kind of well that didn't place that well in the open bracket.
Sage or Aspire?
I think Aspire, yeah, they came top 8.
So this is the entire crux with this at the moment as we discuss this group, right? Obviously, I put the boys above 5-6. It's not even a question. It's literally not even a question for me.
Firesticks lost to Singularity to drop out the tournament.
Yeah, it's not even a question. Boys beat everybody apart from Team War, and then they beat them, in the second one.
I'm just actually having a look there. Firesticks and the boys did play against each other, actually. In winners round 4, the boys won that 3-1. Look, you expect them, RBL, to be bottom, but it's champs. Shit happens there sometimes, but realistically, you expect seed 1 and seed 4 to be there at the end of this group. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just too.
Well, they've got Daryl in as coach as well. So
see, I like Daryl,
but
I like Daryl.
Yeah,
I don't know his coaching chops. That's another question. You know, it's always hard to judge a coach until they've been coaching for a while, and you kind of hear feedback from the players, and you see the work ethic and stuff. You're like, we don't know exactly what he's doing. He could, we've had coaches in previous years that have just gone for the ticket. So I don't know if Daryl's doing that. I doubt he is. I'm sure he's trying to help here. But the question in this group, there's only one real question in this group, right? And I'm going to be honest here. For RBL, I'm sorry. I'm taking you out of the top 2 here. And that's what I'm doing. I just don't see it happening.
You're a harsh man, Brice.
It's just realistic, dude. Like you can't sit here and pretend that the top 6. It's not even actually like 32nd seed to whatever they came. Roughly that bracket, 28th to 32nd seed against the 18th seed or 17th seed, and then 2 pro teams. Like you can't really take that, right? So the question is Elevate or the boys. That is the only question here. E United clearly, obviously favourites to go top 1 here. I don't even think they'll probably drop a game. Wouldn't even surprise me. Double 3-0s, triple 3-0s from them.
Someone saying in the chat that Quicker beat United last champs. Dan Will. What team was he even on back then?
Was it not teams? Was it called Team Sweden? I don't.
Was it at the time?
Top of my head.
You got to let us know, Dan Will, because that is a cool story. I always remember when I see the name Chain, I'm like, last year Vitality champs. They had a run. They beat Echo Fox and they came top 12 or something.
Yeah,
Chain had a decent run, I think, last year. Champs.
They were called Team Sweden. They finished top 16. That was Quicker, PT, Moose, and Wee.
I think I remember that series. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
United. Whether they do it again, doubtful, mate. Doubtful. It's all on the SMGs now. That's my prevailing theory basically right now. Is that it's all about the SMG play. That's why maybe when we get later into talking about 100 Thieves and that way, I'm a little bit skeptical that they're going to bounce back. And okay, we look at Elevate, we've got Graffiti, Lacefields. They're probably getting pretty busy, but I don't know. I feel like I'm going to favour the boys, but maybe that's bias. I don't know.
I don't know if that is bias. That's the thing about this one it is the big question of, do we rate the boys higher because we saw them end up winning the open bracket, or, is just being a pro team a step above? I think at the start of the year, maybe you could have said yes. I think now, because we haven't seen these players or these teams play each other for God knows how long. It's been the pros playing and the amateurs playing or the semi-pros playing. There's been no crossover, apart from when we get players kind of picked up into the pro division. And from what I can tell, players that go into the pro division from that have been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out and say Elevate being one of the weaker pro teams, they haven't set the world on fire. They don't seem like anything super special.
Yeah, it's a weird team.
I have to pick the boys
in there now.
Yeah,
it's a strange one. I think I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, I was just going to say that on the boys, you've got players in there that have been in the league this year and have been doing it. Nasty and Chain are a little bit different in that regard, but Quicker was on the verge of qualifying with Team Sweden at the PLQ. Yeah. Shawnee's obviously been in there and done it, had good results earlier this year. I mean, Bance, of course, is basically a veteran. I mean, in terms of that matchup, it's not really Am versus Pro in the same sense that we have had.
Yeah, I think especially as well when you allude to the SMG being pretty strong at the moment, the Soul's been really strong. For me, Quicker and Bance, they for me, based on what we've seen this year, they trump Raffizi and Lacefield for me. I think
Swedish champ, baby.
Mate, of course, yeah. So another big thing from this roster was that there's been a lot of question marks around Nasty when he came into the squad. I was a bit like, he doesn't have a lot of experience. Good player, but all of it. He's bloody good though, isn't he? Yeah, he played really, really well. In Miami. So if he can bring that same sort of level, hopefully the pressure doesn't get to him. He doesn't seem like the sort of guy that does, from speaking to him a little bit in Miami. I think they'll be fine. It's a huge game. It's a huge game. We've got the schedule, actually, I swear to God. Of
I
who's
got a
going
couple
first.
schedule things here. I can put it in the chat if you guys.
Yeah,
would
put it
like.
in the chat because I'm sure they tweeted it out. I'm gonna have to try and find it. But if you've got it open, throw it in.
Here's another thing I've got to throw in there before we lock this one down.
1 second.
Is if we don't take into account how good we think the boys could be against Elevate, this is the most defined one in my mind of would an amateur team ever beat a pro team? If we genuinely picked Elevate here, we might as well just knock off the rest of the entire groups.
It's the first game on Alpha.
Yeah, we might as well knock off the rest of the groups because, as far as I'm concerned, if the boys can't beat Elevate and you don't think that that's a realistic possibility, what you're basically saying is that the rest of the teams that played in and got top 16 in the open bracket might as well not bother turning up, because that should be the greatest. It's one of the lowest and least well thought of pro teams against the winner of the open bracket. Like, we should be saying the boys are winning this.
Yeah, I'm definitely inclined to agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. The boys in second. First game though, so both teams have to show up. It's
Very
first,
true.
First
10 a.m.
game
as
on
well.
Alpha.
Like that's.
Yeah, it's an early one, so
Both
of them are going to have to be acclimatized to it. But I think they will be, and I think we'll have an absolutely cracking game. I think it'll be close. I do think it'll be close still, but I think the boys will take it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think just so all the boys, like Shawnee looked comfortable. I still thought, Shawnee in my mind could have still been on a wreck very easily.
Yeah.
For when I saw the Dens switch out for him, I always thought it was a toss-up. Obviously, it was an internal team thing. I didn't see a message between Dens and Shawnee, other than I think Dens ended up getting into the AR role first, and they didn't want to change it. But I don't know exactly what happened. I'm sure whatever happened in that team happened. But I still think, in my mind, he can play at that level. And then the Elevate team have just never really gotten started during the year. They've had there was a few shock surprises from them, actually. At one point, they got something chugging along, and then it never really appeared again. So I think, for me, this is the boys, and it is, as someone put in the chat, 16th versus 17th, and I'm picking 17th this time because of the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, the Elevate did have that result against, well, it wasn't actually a result, but you remember when they played Optic in the league? Was it the same team with the Believe situation? Well, they should have won, but like Whalers, do you remember it was on Hacienda last map, game 5, round 11, but the whole Whalers bomb defuse thing?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. They start chugging along.
Like, that wasn't a good Optic gaming that we're playing there, and I think the boys probably could have given Optic the same run, if not even, been a little bit more competitive against them with the Optic gaming that was playing on that day. So, yeah, final thoughts, basically that.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're actually going to move on from Paul A. I don't see many people disagreeing with this.
No,
Whalers is a good player on Elevate,
He is. Yeah. He's a good player. I think Shawnee's better.
Yeah.
That's probably fair
I think you look at every single point and you could make an argument that the boys have better individual players. Again, could be some sort of UK bias coming in, but in danger of going on.
Yeah, I don't fully agree with that, unfortunately. I don't fully agree with you there.
Okay, so
I think Elevate may have had the issue where they haven't been able to get going in the big leagues. I'm going more with the fact that the boys coming off a big win. They're more hungry for this. They're so hungry for this. You're talking about players who've dropped out of the pro league, who've been dropped. Quicker than you didn't get chances. There's a lot of hunger there for these. They're going to come into champs firing on and they're gunning for Elevate. Like, absolutely gunning for Elevate. They will not give a shit. They'll have VODs on them. They're going to want to take them down hard. The United game, they're probably going to go, well, that's the best team out at the moment. And the RBL game, they've taken them down before. So for me, it's maybe a bit of hunger for the boys pushing them ahead in here. But let's move on to Group B, because we're going around in circles now. Group B is much more interesting because
Spice.
Yeah, well,
I like this pool.
Jay, did you say splice?
No, that's not what I said. I said spicy.
Oh, spicy. I thought you said splice. I was like, what? I thought I pulled the wrong pool.
Ahead of myself. You're good.
Yeah, sorry. Gen G, Enigma 6, Team War, and Fuego Gaming.
It's really hard. Again, like the game that I think could decide who definitely fit. Look, Gen G are the outlier. I think they absolutely finished first in this group. I'd be
tough to say otherwise.
Yeah, you couldn't really say. If you were a betting man, you would absolutely say that Gen G finished first in this group. Doesn't take a major CoD brain to tell you that one. However, outside of that, it's really quite difficult. Now, Team War and the boys, for me, it was so close. It was so close, that grand finals. I think they're just as good as each other on their day. I mean, they got separated by a couple of rounds of S&D in the end, so yeah, it's hard to differentiate.
Yeah,
but
10 mapper.
Enigma 6 is, I don't know. They have more scope to improve, absolutely, but they've been so strange this year. Like, the changes that they've decided to make, at the times they've decided to make them, have been bizarre. Have they managed to find some sort of chemistry in this lineup yet? That's going to be a big question. You would expect they've improved. But for me, I think it's between them and Team War for second. I do. I just think Fuego are a good team. We got a lot of love from Madcat on this show as well. I just think Enigma 6 and Team War are better teams.
Here's how I think about Fuego. I thought that was... I mean, I like good members of the few members of the season. Madcat, obviously, always been a big fan of him. He comes on the podcast regularly. Hawkey, obviously a pro himself. Whether or not he criticizes me and Tunn is regardless. But I do mess with this team. The issue that I have is that Fuego are in this group. That's the biggest problem, is that every single team in this group, if I was being honest and I had to put my money on the line, I would pick them to beat Fuego. Because Fuego looked like they were struggling a little bit just in the open bracket. And there is a step up. I mean, admittedly, Enigma 6 didn't look fantastic at Miami, but they are still going to be in the upper echelons of where, all these teams are, whatever. I don't think they're going to be as low as Fuego. Whether or not Fuego just need time to get their shit together, because there was some big plays. Madcat was going berserk, as we knew.
I mean, saying that, we've seen Madcat kicking off about scrims, about not just other teams choking that time up, about some players on his team sleeping in by scrims at like 5 p.m. and it's like, bro, come on! Like, this is like the biggest event of the year. I don't want to like throw names under the bus, but I think it might have been Chaxter that was the one, and I mean you
just throw names under the bus.
I don't want to necessarily say that it was definitely him, but I think it was him. I think that's one of those things that you have to look at and say, right, how serious are they about this? We know Madcat is, we know Hawkey is, all the other three guys, they're on that same level. They're going to have to be to get out of this group, because by no means is it an easy task for either E6 War or Fuego at this point.
Yeah,
the best thing... Go on, sorry.
Okay, it's all good. Basically what I was going to say is that, I don't see Fuego winning a series here. I don't think they're good enough. It's just interesting that, you see in... players that have teamed with each other before, Josh, Dave, and Vortex were 3/4 of that Epsilon team back in Infinite Warfare that came top 3 at Anaheim. They won, was it Birmingham or Sheffield, whichever event it was.
Yeah.
And then Hawkey was the 4th on the team at the time, and he's now against them. And of course, Madcat's played with Josh way back in the day. Modern Warfare 3, EGL 8, whichever event it was where they won. Yeah. So there's a lot of history between these players. I think Team War should be the better team. Personally, I think that E6 probably will have enough for Team War. I think they were a pretty good Team War at obviously they came second at Miami, but they didn't impress me as much as the boys did in terms of their team play and their chemistry. There was something about watching them which I felt it just wasn't quite pro caliber yet.
There was mistakes. There was absolutely mistakes.
Yeah.
I think what carried them through was the individual skill on a few levels. A few of them had really good maps. We've seen it from every single one of them, to be honest.
I think Dequee was frying most of the weekend.
Dave,
we didn't take a look at the stats.
Well.
Did you see the stats that come out after the weekend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was... Oh, God, I will do well to find that.
I'm fairly certain Dequee was dropping a 1.3 something.
Yeah.
It was high.
Yeah, it was based on streamed only
as well on the SMGs.
Yeah.
There was some filthy maps from them too. So, I mean, it was a fun team to watch for sure, but I just feel like E6 will have too much in terms of experience and team play here. And I think in terms of the talent, it's pretty tough to call. I'm just going to take E6. I've taken the boys in the first one. My thinking is that this time E6 will get the better of them. They've been pretty damn good the entire year, E6. Last event was a bit of an off thing for them. Obviously, they've changed up this team dramatically. But GodRx, I think, is just fantastic. And if Kismet plays well, I think he's kind of the factor for me. He was super good at the start of the year. As of late, hasn't quite been so good. But yeah, again, that's how it works at Champs. It's basically might come down to one series here. It could be a game 5, could be a round 11. We know how these pools work. If you lose out on some dodgy tiebreaker, you're out of the tournament. So there's easily upset potential, which is why it's very tough pick these pools because upsets are going to happen. But like that's my thinking.
Yeah.
You know what? Team War aside, in terms of like, problem is I genuinely really like Team War in terms of like I know them. My issue is going with what Rab said is Enigma 6 are a different animal. Like this is a team we know have performed, and whatever messes they have, it could be up, it could be down. But I feel like going into champs time, you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. You've got to say Enigma 6 cannot be as bad as they always have been.
But can they?
I don't think so. Not coming in. That obviously it's going to be the big game here.
Yeah.
And I know that Tunn is going to pick Team War because it's the most obvious pick for him in the world. Him and Vortex play together like every day, and the UK bias is coming in. So I'm actually going to pick Enigma 6 just to counteract the clear bias Tunn's about.
No, it's not clear bias. It will be a close game. Let's be honest. Come on.
But here's what I do want to throw in. Is while we have Fuego may not be the same caliber we believe as other teams in this, I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop a few maps against Fuego because I think Fuego can shock teams in terms of like not knowing what to expect out of them and playing for them. In fairness, the best team against them will be Team War because they'll just know them from the scrims. Enigma 6 may not be ready for how Fuego play, and they probably won't have bothered to watch VODs on them.
And it's been annoying for both teams, I know, because obviously Team War and Fuego would have scrimmed each other, and they haven't been able to as well because they're in the same pool. Obviously, they all get along with each other as well, so it's one of these things where they really didn't want to be in the same pool together, and it's been a tough one, but it just depends if Fuego can step themselves up.
Absolutely. I think it might be worth saying briefly before we move onwards here that like if there's a team that could like upset Gen G in the pools, like for me, it's probably more likely to be E6 than the other teams. So I don't know if that plays at all, but because
I agree with that.
Yeah, that like if there's going to be upsets in these pools. Some of these top seeds aren't going to win. Like obviously on paper it seems like it should be straightforward, but like I think if there's a team that was going to upset them and actually have a chance of qualifying comfortably, it's probably E6 more than War. From my that's my opinion.
I think it's absolutely fair. I think it's fair. I do think it will be a close game. I'm going to go on the side of Team War at this time round, as you expected me to. I think the thing is that we said that Kismet is such an important player for them and how well he has played over the year. If he doesn't bring that high level, they will get punished because the SMGs on Team War are very strong as well. It's a strong team overall, I think. And I think E6 are going to have to be on the top game to beat them, I think. But it's a tough one to call. I think this is much tougher to call than Elevate against the boys. It's much tougher to call. But I see why you go in both directions. I'm going to go with Team O, maybe because I'm 50-50 and the bias will swap me to one side, if anything. So I'll go with Team O on this one. I'd like to see them do it, obviously, but let's see. It's first game for them as well. It's on Delta, actually. Christ. So yeah.
Get that switched.
Yeah,
that's another big game.
Get on Charlie, Brice.
Let's talk about Pool C then. Let's move on to Pool C. FaZe, Units, Mazer, and Animosity Esports.
Mm-hmm.
Animosity are the Germans. I almost did that like I watched Snatch recently. That's stuck in my head. So the Germans, I mean, they did okay. From I think we watched them once or twice. I don't think I was ever massively kind of shown anything amazing for it. I don't remember. See, I don't remember their game. I remember we definitely saw their game at some point.
We've definitely seen them play. I don't think they cruised through to it, but what was their name in it?
I mean, they were top 16.
Have they changed their name?
Yeah, I think they changed their name. Like it's difficult for me to find the previous.
Yeah, they weren't called that before.
Was it Div? Was it Divinely? That was it. Yeah, it was Divinely.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So they went on to I've lost it now. Jesus.
Well, let's move on to begin. Why you looking for that? Because Mazer Gaming, I thought were an interesting team actually in the Open, the qualifiers for this, because Mazer were one of our teams that we kept an eye on, right, and we expect them to do well. Right, you've got Parzodi and Apox Spacely, Jet Li, Mosh. I thought this team, they're going to do pretty well. Whether or not they can win it, obviously, that's a different question entirely. But if I remember correctly, when we were watching them at Miami, they struggled in an early game. And I don't know whether... I think they lost the first hard point in one of the best of threes. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Is this Mesa team really that bad? And then from what I understand, after that happened, they actually looked pretty good.
I think it's like definitely possible that they, teams like that, especially new teams, can have bad maps early on in the brackets. It's difficult to probably read too much into that. Like, this pool on the whole is really interesting now. Like, because I don't think that... I mean, it's the same story that we've had so far. It's just like I don't really think Animosity are going to do anything. Like, apologies to the boys, but I mean, what are the chances really there? It's like Units, they've had such a tough year, especially Rated and Joe. And like, I feel like they've just got another difficult run of things here, which is just how it's worked out, I guess. Because, of course, they lost to LG at the play-in bracket, and LG were looking great on that day. Formal dropped like 43 in the control or something stupid like that. Slacked and John were playing great. Like, from what we've heard, Units is, at least from what Rated tells us, Units are pretty damn good.
From what Rated tells us, they're winning fucking champs at this point.
To be fair, that is true. Yeah, he's already chalked the ring up. Like,
in defense of Rated, from what I can, it's not just him that said things to me.
I know.
Yeah,
the Units seem pretty. I think they're underestimated.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why. It's not people have sunk Joe and Rated stock through the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've picked up 3 guys that a lot of people don't know. That's essentially what has happened. Nelson, they've had her through Splice. Weeman, you may have seen if you've kept an eye on the scene over the last couple of years. And kind of the same for Cammy, but they don't stick out to the casual fans, and they don't stick out to those who watch the high-level stuff. But from what I can tell, is these 3 are not only grinders, but lunatics. And they help bring the speed of this team up. You've got Rated going to a Maddox. They seem to be able to... They kind of just know this game.
100%. That's what you need right now.
Yeah, and they have the ability to shock people.
And I think one of the things
in the Pro League. Sorry, just to put in real quick. They took down FaZe in the league when they played. It was the same teams when they played their match in the latter half of the league. Now, FaZe weren't looking great in those few games. Like, they looked pretty bad all week. Then they bounced back nicely at Miami. But like, Units beat them. I think they're in a game 5. So it's like they've got the potential to do it. That's why this pool's interesting to me. Is that it's not completely clear cut that the team in first seed is going to come out at the top, because FaZe, I don't think, are so good in pools generally. They tend to, when they get to bracket, like, they really turn it on. But I think it was Anaheim, they lost to like E6. They got 3-0'd by E6 in pools or something like that. And then when it came to bracket, they 3-0'd E6 right back. But like, there's genuine potential here for FaZe to get upset by Units and or Mesa, to be honest, which is what makes this pool exciting. It's difficult to call where the first or second place goes, to be honest. Like, FaZe could come second here. I wouldn't be that surprised.
Here's what's kind of making my mind up.
Isn't it?
Is that it would be more surprising for Mesa, in my mind, to defeat FaZe than it would be Units, because Units have a history of doing it. Even though FaZe looked fantastic at Miami and seemed to have smoothed out some of the issues we thought they may have had. So I'm unsure. It really comes down, because here's the thing. At Miami, people were still talking about Units. If they could beat LG, they believe they would have taken mostly the same path through the bracket that LG did. Obviously, maybe not going as far as LG, because LG looked fantastic. So I would still put FaZe first. You can't really not put FaZe first, if I'm on it. In my mind, you can disagree.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like,
simply because of how well they played at Miami. It would be silly for us. They don't look as bomb-proof as some of the other teams in this bracket, but they are still, of course, FaZe, and they are fantastic. The Units versus Mesa game, we come down to the same thing again. It's 2 versus 3. We know this because of how the brackets are stacked and the pools are done, that they should be close games. And if I'm being honest, and this is purely off like something super subjective, seeing Mesa have a little bit of a struggle in the hard point early on, and I haven't found out from anybody yet whether that was just a cold start or whether that was a bad map for them or anything against the rest of the team.
They just didn't have a clean run, though, did they, at all? Like, they're a team you look at. We looked at before Miami, we said, these lot are pretty much top 4. We know they will breeze through. They'll be there with Mind Freak. Yikes. They'll be there with Mind Freak. They'll be there with the boys. They'll be there with War. They'll be there with guys like Sage. Everybody like that. We thought they'd be there. They got there. Absolutely did. They finished third. However, my God, did they make it look hard. Holy shit. I've got the results up here. The game that we watched where they got not just beat on Arsenal in winners round 2, I think it was, they got smoked off a random team who finished top 48 or something. There's things like that which bothers me about Mesa. On paper, Mesa should be great. They should be very, very good. However, lose a map to Carnage, just about beat TH, which was Zeke, Natche, etc. 3-2. Lose to the boys 3-2, which is an encouraging result, you would say. But then you get to like the losers final. They lose to War 3-1. They just beat Sage 3-2. You expected some cleaner games out of them. Yes, okay, now they've had more time to practice together. Yes, there is that. But based on what we've seen in Miami, I didn't see enough from them to say that they'll beat Units. However, I look at Units, and Units are a team who could potentially beat FaZe, but they could also potentially lose to Mesa. Like, Units are a bit weird in that respect. Like, we know how good they can be, but we know they can sometimes flounder a little bit. So I am going to personally favour Units in this one, but that's basically based on what I've seen at Miami.
What map did Units beat Luminosity on? Was it the hardpoint?
I think they won the Surge.
Was it the Surge, was it?
Messed up. Yeah, they definitely. I think they lost the hardpoint for sure, and then they lost Control, and then they must have lost map 4. I think it was the Surge.
Yeah.
So yeah. Which is kind of surprising, to be honest. I mean, it's not necessarily.
I thought it was a hardpoint because they were gassing their hardpoint.
They lost hardpoint.
I think they did lose map 1.
250 to 183. They won S&D Arsenal 6-3. They lost C-side Control 3-1, and they lost Frequency 250 to 204.
Sorry, what was the frequency score?
250 to 204.
Yeah, honestly, it was a close series.
It was a relatively close series. Yeah, it was relatively.
I was quite impressive Units. Like, to be honest, this pool is really interesting. I feel like it could go either way, but at the end of the day, if you want to predict it, I think you probably just have to go with seeding, because I think the Units should be better than Mesa. Like, there's not too doubt in my mind there, and Animosity I don't really think have a chance, unfortunately. So I think like it's very interesting theoretically. There's probably like a 30% chance that one of the nice upsets happen when we get, or maybe even more than that, 50% maybe. I don't know where I was going with that really.
Yeah, I don't think it's a. I think you're right. I don't think it's a lock. I think if you're being honest, you the only way you say Mesa here is if you think they've got stronger and improved, which is a very real possibility.
They've been in America.
I mean, Spacey last year, like he Elevate last year at Champs came top 8.
Yeah,
are we good?
It's a toss up for me. I'm going to go Units though. I just think I'm going to go with the pro team. They've had that big pro practice,
I think Units.
Plus, they need a little bit of luck. Come on, let's be perfectly honest with you.
I agree with Infinity that I think it will be a close game. However, I just about give it to Units in this one. I think realistically, especially their practice in America that they've now been having, is going to be a lot better. Obviously, they didn't have that come Champs. They were scrimming over in Europe, which there's only a select amount of teams over here at the minute that you can actually scrim against. So I think they'll absolutely be better prepared. I think Mesa will still be better prepared as well. But yeah, I'm going to go with Units once again. I just think Mesa just did not impress me enough. Again, it was pointed out that it was a stacked amateur bracket, but then there was other teams that like the boys that pretty much cruised. They pretty much cruised through everybody, whereas Mesa just didn't do that enough for me. And when it came to the final hurdle, they failed and comfortably lost to a good team. So I think realistically, I think that the Units go through.
Yeah, not only that, right? I would pick Units just because I think they probably deserve a little bit of money after this year.
Yeah,
they probably deserve a bump in money.
Please.
Would you like to answer Jono's question there, Brice? I don't know if he's just being obtrusive intentionally or.
He's asking what we're using to judge the skill gap between the pro teams and the others.
Results.
Truthfully, like how easy they found the open bracket. The problem is there isn't a massive sample size, so sometimes you have to take into the history of the players. How we've seen them do, how easy was it to qualify for champs for them if they're going through the open versus what their results are in the pro league. sometimes it's just gut feeling. Obviously, like the difficulty is it's incredibly hard to quantify how these teams will do because we don't, unlike previous years, we've seen open bracket play-ins. You don't see that anymore. So sometimes, you make a pick based off what you can kind of get, and it's a lot of picking out of the ether. I'm not gonna lie to you, but
there's basis. There's basis for what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not the most solid of foundations. Trust me. Let's talk about Pool D then. Let's move on. Team Reciprocity, Team Envy, Sage Esports, and Legend Status. Let's start with you, Rab. What do you think? Initial thoughts?
Oh, okay. This pool, again, pretty interesting. Like, I look at it and I'm like, this is Pool D, right? We're chatting about Reciprocity, Envy, and that. Like, I feel like, again, it should go by seeding, but just there's some interesting teams in here because my initial feeling looking at this pool was that, okay, Legend Status, I can't see them having too much of a chance. To be honest, I'm not particularly familiar with these names. If you guys are, then, if you've got...
they had a couple of okay results. They finished 9th, 12th in Anaheim, and then finished top 16 in Miami. So
so it's reasonable, decent. But
they've been together for a decent amount of time since Anaheim. So they've got the chemistry, but I don't know if they have. Based on what we see,
it's difficult to say whether that's like a positive or a negative, really. Because if you've been together since Anaheim, you've come top 12. Then at Miami, you've come top 16. It's like, surely, if you're going to gain chemistry, that was the opportunity to do so. So maybe on that, I'm not particularly confident. The rest of the teams, like Reciprocity, should be the best team here. On paper, they should win it, but like I feel like they still have so much potential to be very inconsistent. And you just don't know what rec you're going to get on a given day. I think they could lose to both Envy and Sage. I think it's possible. I think if they play their best game and Dylan's going off and Zed's going off, like Zed, I think really is the X factor on this team. If he's going off, like it's chalked for the competition in this pool. And then you've got Envy sitting around in that like no man's land where they should be the second best team here, I would say. And I think they have the experience to beat Sage. That's the way I'd predict it, to have Sage in third, Envy second.
They have Gunless.
I really feel exactly. They've got Gunless. They've got like Assault has one of the best champs KDs of all time. They've got like Eggs, 2 times world champ. They've got 3 out of the 4 defending world championship like players from last year. It would be difficult to predict them not making it to top 16 at the very least, but it's possible for sure. I just feel like it might come down to a game 5 between them and Sage. And nerves and all that stuff might get to Sage more than it will the veterans. So that was my initial thoughts on the pool.
That's not a bad thought coming into this one. Like, I want to talk about Reciprocity to begin with because the Dylan thing, I love Dylan a bit, and the fact that he is 5 feet of sex appeal and Irish steel or whatever it is. Does he do that every single tournament? I mean, don't get me wrong, he has done very well every single tournament. But does he do it consistently over and over and over again? Because he did seem to be a big factor in, rec continue to push forward. And I've always said, having an X Factor, having a superstar like that on a team, and that's what he is fantastic. Right up until they don't work.
Yeah.
Right up until they come out slow.
I think that's the thing is like we've seen when they played up against LG in Miami. I was just standing there watching it when that map happened.
Mate.
And I was just standing there like, well, what the fuck just happened? One of the best solo performances I've seen in Call of Duty history. Full stop. But if he doesn't do that, they'll lose the map convincingly. And they lose to LG. So this is like the thing. It's if he doesn't seem to go off, they're struggling against the top teams. If he does, they're within a great shot. He may well be one of the best players on this game. I think it's the two Dylans SMG-wise that you've got to decide against him or Envoy, really. But I think realistically, how often can you expect him to consistently keep doing it? He has done, but can he keep doing it once again? If he does, they breeze through this pool. I think they'll probably still be okay because Envy have looked.
Mate, like, if he does the same thing at Champs Deal, and that you're going to see all going offering him Lambos outside the event.
If they can get to Sunday and he continues this performance all weekend long, they are one of the dark horses for the tournament.
It's the same story with Rec. It's the same story every time. I love the Reciprocity team, but we've said this 2 months ago when they went on that run when they had 11 game 5s. or whatever ridiculous number it was.
Fort Worth, was it like?
It was some ridiculous number, and they kept having game fives, and we all said game 5 is not something you consistently expect to win because it is a standout. Even though it's search, it's like a different world. But I don't know. Like I think Reciprocity, I would put them top in this group just because after Miami, I can't see anything else different, and none of the other teams to me smack of I could pick these top. Like I couldn't pick any of these top. Now, obviously, Team Envy is in this group, and he will be winning Champs 8, so obviously we have to figure out how he gets into the pool.
Optic-On in the group, so they don't get through.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's no guaranteed wins in this pool now, huh?
This Envy team, I don't know what on earth is going on. You know, Gunless goes over after his forced sabbatical. And
just trying to get my boy in for next year, to be honest. I'm just trying to keep him for franchising. It's like, all right, we'll get you in now, Gunless. Like, just whatever happens. Like, we'll sign you a fat contract and get you sticking around. You know, see what happens. Who coming back from Splice? You know, build a team. But you know, I feel like Envy is just. I don't know what I think about them, to be honest. On paper, they should be decent, but I just feel like in the current meta, they're probably just too slow. That was what a lot of us said day one as soon as they formed. And then since then, we've even had the SMG buff. So it's like, I can't expect them to do much in this tournament, even with the talents they've got and the experience they have. As I say, I feel like they'll make it out the pool. I feel like Sage have a great chance, though. There are some really good players on that team. They're more cracked out than Envy, let's put it that way. So, like, there's upside potential there. I'd be interested to hear what the chat thinks. I'm sure they've been chatting about it.
You know what? It's happened every single time. I look at this Envy team and I think, they should be all right, you know? They should be pretty good. And every single we come to them, they're not. Yeah. But this is the big one, right? This is where there are no more excuses for them. And part of me still wants to go with Envy. Although
that's what I'm doing at the end of the day.
I'm still going to go with them. I think the gunless factor is a big one. I think Sage had... I mean, if you look at their roster, Cells, Gravity Hollow, Vivid, Rex, Gravity, part of that team, FaZe that won the initial, the first one in, Fort Worth. It's a long time ago. They've got a decent enough roster, but looking at their performance in Miami, if you were to base it off that, they beat Legend States, actually, 3-1. But then they lost to Train Hard, which is like Zeke, Natche, and all the boys. They lost... they beat them 3-0. Can't read. Then they beat Aspire, beat Kari. Actually, the more I look into this, the further they seem to be going. But then they went on to lose against Mesa. Yeah, okay, they could do all right, but I just don't think... I don't think that they have enough to beat Envy, even though Envy, I think, do look pretty shit. Like at times.
Yeah, if they make out of this pool, they're not making it further than top 16, maybe top 12. I mean, is what it is. But like, I'm pretty sure Envy as a team has the highest like average champs placing of like any organization. So I mean, this year maybe that changes. Like, I can't see them doing that well. Really can't.
I'm gonna go Envy. I kind of want to go Sage, and I do. But gut feeling is Envy on this. Although
it's champs, it takes surely doesn't need optic.
I know. Here's my issue. Here's my issue: is how far do I think Envy have sunk?
I mean, they couldn't have sunk much further than Miami at this point.
Yeah, I know. In Miami, they look terrible,
awful.
But is it they've sunk so far? They're now dropping, further and further down into the open bracket. Like, if they were in the open bracket, you'd think they would win it, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Or at least,
but like,
at least outplay State. I'm going to go Envy. It's not an easy one because Team Envy look absolutely shocking. But I have to believe that with the veterans on this team and the names on this team, that the month from Miami to champs has fixed something. Because I cannot have, the world, they're world champ. This last year, there are world champions in here not getting out of the group. If I don't believe that, so Gunner's MVP during part of the year. Yeah, people thought he was a god. People thought he literally walked on water.
Like, do you reckon there's a chance that these Envy lads, like especially the likes of Ake, Silly, maybe like Soul, like maybe Guns to some degree, just coming off the World Championship from last year, those guys, maybe there's part of their mind which is just thinking the same as we are, kind of like, oh well, it's champs, we've done it all before, doesn't really matter like how our practice goes. We know that we'll turn up. There's no chance we're not getting out of groups. Like, I feel like that kind of mindset and that complacency could creep in, even if they have been a tragically bad team. In the back of their mind somewhere, they're probably feeling like, well, you know, when push comes to shove, we'll be all right, you know, which might be a difference here.
I think if you look at champs last year, Envy were probably in a pretty similar situation to what AG were. Just everyone would not have expected them to do as well as they did. Obviously, nobody expected them to go on to fucking win it, which I still bewilders me to this day.
One of the great stories, to be honest.
Bizarre stories, if anything, but it's one of those where, they're in the same sort of position.
Every Devils, baby.
Bad level, bad year, to be honest with you, for Envy in general. Can they bring it to another level here at Champs? We know that X has that in his back pocket. I think they absolutely make it out of groups, but I don't think they go any further, really.
No. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Pool E. Luminosity Gaming, UIU, Team Singularity, and Vanity. I'm just going to stick the LG at the top here for obvious reasons. Stick a pin in them. They look good.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think,
go on.
Yeah, I think honestly UIU probably looked a little bit better than we thought they would in Miami. I think it's going to be a tough one to break the top two for these guys. Just to preface, Brice, Vanity is, for anybody in there, is obviously the team that went on to beat Mindfreak in the winners bracket round 2, sent them down there and had a pretty decent run. It was Excalibur they were called, I think.
Yeah, Reaper, Dilo, Awakening.
Awakening is the best player I've ever seen. Etc.
I like this team.
Yes.
I really like this team as well, actually.
I was expecting them to go much further.
Yeah, they sort of. I feel like they ran out of gas. It was one of those where like, whoa, we beat Mindfreak, let's keep going. It's like one of them. It slows down eventually. Who did they actually lose to get knocked out?
They came top 12 in the end. That's all I'm looking at. Yeah,
I was expecting higher because they beat Mindfreak. They beat Fuego.
They lost to War. And then after they lost to War, where did they drop? They actually lost to Singularity 3-1.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it wrong that this is a sort of Singularity's roster? I did think that they probably did lose to him. Because I think they would lose to him. But I think actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, that Singularity Vanity game is going to be great.
It will be a good game, but it's a shame that I still feel like it might be for nothing. I know there would be people in this chat calling for my head here. I like Team Singularity. I do. But I don't
think they're making it.
I don't think they have enough to beat UIU. I think you maybe put them in some of the other pools with like the weaker second team that you think, oh, okay, they can maybe potentially push them. But I think they're a good team. I think they've done well to get here. Albeit you look at them run through Miami, it was relatively simple. I think I'll double check and confirm, but somebody told me they didn't beat one top 16 team to finish, or top 16 seed to finish where they did, which is not their fault, but at the same time, you know,
probably meaningful.
You got to take into consideration. I just don't think they have it in their locker to beat UIU. I think it's a big jump from some of the teams they played up against. UIU have looked better than we thought they would in Miami.
Yeah, well, we trashed them in the pre-Miami show.
Yeah, we did. But beating Envy, we expected that. And then the game against EG was, they got beat 3-0, but they looked. It was a relatively close game as far as I'm aware.
And apparently they've been doing it right in like scrims and the like as well. It just seems like there's too much talent on this team to not put something together eventually. Like, there's honestly some really, really good players here. They kind of are. I mean, having Phantoms and Methods on one team is maybe a little bit too slow to some degree. Obviously, we're not going to have them anywhere near championship contenders. But yeah, I mean, and Classic obviously has got a lot of people calling for his neck the entire year. But, you know, Saints and Blast, solid SMGs. I feel like Classic can be a decent supporting guy as well. They should come out second in this pool. I think it should be relatively clear cut, but there's upset potential always.
I'm gonna agree with you there, Rab, and say I'm gonna put them in seeding order. However, I don't think it's clean cut in any way, shape, or form. I could see Vanity beating UIU and Singularity and not being that shocked. And the same thing with Singularity, I can see them being UIU. Luminosity is the only one I'm going to put like on the shelf above them, just out of reach. But those three teams, if I saw them in almost any order, apart from maybe UIU at the very bottom, but any other order than that wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked to see Singularity maybe get a good game against UIU. Even Vanity, you know, they looked good. Awakening looked ridiculous.
Very good.
They look ridiculous. And it depends what the gas they come in with. You know, they didn't look good in the later part of the tournament, but they took down Mind Freak and so on and so forth. And it's not saying it's a lock. I'm just saying I don't see there being a big upset if there is a change in this group. I would put them in seed order, but I don't think it's a lock.
I mean, that's the thing we see every single champs. Like, we'll go through these pools and we'll be like, oh, it's probably seeding order. It's probably sounds about right.
Yeah, it's about how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Every single year, though, there's always something. It will go down to a game 5. Like, there'll be some weird drama or equipment thing that'll happen and someone will get forfeited a map and then it's all on the back foot. And then maybe, like, you know, if things go game 5, anything can happen with these lower tier teams, I feel. And there's definitely going to be some upsets this year. It's just difficult to call exactly where they're going to come from. So that's really, I think the best we can do is try and point at pools where they might be more likely. And this is certainly one of them. I would agree on that.
It's one of those dangerous ones. It's one of those that if LG and UIU finish first and second, you go, yeah, we'll probably expect that to happen. But, you know, there is potential. I don't know if there's enough potential for it to actually happen. But for me, I think it is one of the ones that are up in the air. I've just quickly been looking at the schedule. Singularity actually play LG first and UIU play against Vanity at exactly the same time. I think that suits Singularity more. I think, you know, you look at what happens in the result of the other game, you play against LG, you have no expectations, you can get, you know, self sort of warmed up into the tournament, that sort of thing. So I think schedule-wise, you'd argue it favours them. But, I mean, clutching at straws maybe for the teams and reasons to help them. But I think, you know, they're going to need a little bit of magic, both these two teams, to beat UIU. And by the way, what I said about UIU against EG being close, absolutely incorrect. They got smoked by EG. You see, this is because we weren't watching. I just hit a lot of people saying UIU looked much better. They look much better. So I just uninformingly,
EG were just on another level in that pro league in the
they were,
to be honest. Like, they were playing fantastic CoD. So, you know, that's the team I guess we can talk about in a second there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to move on then. Pull F for, you know, thieves. 100 Thieves, Midnight Esports, Sicario, and Fury. Obviously, it's the same story here. You know, it's Thieves. They didn't look great at Miami, but they are still the 100 Thieves.
They didn't look terrible. They just didn't look as good as they have been.
Well, they didn't look like the unstoppable force of nature.
No,
I agree.
I'm 4 maps dropped, like unbeatable 100 Thieves.
Yeah. So I don't know whether that soul mate really messed them up or what happened. Maybe complacency. Coming into Miami, possibly. It is possible. I know Pro said they don't get complacent, but when you're back-to-back champs...
Exactly. Like
it was one of those where if they went on to win Miami, then that would have... The achievement to win 3 events in a row at this level, with the level of competition these days, is something else. If they had done that, they are like up there with some of the best teams of all time for me.
Yeah.
But,
like coming into this year,
it's a tall order.
I would have been pretty impressed if a team would have won like 2 events, you know, like winning 2 events this year is a great achievement, to be honest, given the competition. The fact that they did it back to back is just like, you know, assuming they were going to do it back to back was probably a step too far. But I think maybe there were other factors at play, but we can get into that maybe. The Sorg thing, so I was going to have a chat about.
Yeah.
Maybe, all good.
Midnight.
I mean, I expect them. Look, they've got better. Let's not kid
ourselves. Oh, they have got better. I will agree with you there. I don't think them being thieves, and the Sicario game should be pretty good. I mean, here's the thing: Fury and Sicario, both not bad teams.
Genuinely, this is an exciting pool. I really like it. I think honestly, a lot of stuff can happen here. Like I think 100 Thieves are the safe pick, but I genuinely think there's upset potential from a couple of these teams here. They came top 6 at Miami. I don't know. I'm just thinking about the Sorg situation, and I don't know. I think Kenny maybe said he's going to be running 3rd Sorg on some maps. So we'll see how that goes. But 100 Thieves is all down to how well Enable plays, to be honest. Priester is filthy. The rest of the team is great, but if Enable can drop like a 0.95, then they can win champs. But if he doesn't do that, I think they're beatable. You look at Midnight, you've got Royalty and Zaptius, who, if they're like probably two of the most inconsistent players in the league, like if those guys fry for a series, there's no doubt in my mind that they can beat 100 Thieves. Like if they go off, it's possible for sure. I think the team has the talent. Whether that's, but like, how do you even predict with that? And then you've got Sicario, who have got like, you know, this team looked maybe, I didn't really get to see too much of the brackets. I'm sure you guys will have some interesting input on how exactly well Sicario looks, because they look good for a time.
Wow.
In top 6.
This is what I'm going to say about Sicario.
Jump right.
I think Sicario powered their way through the open bracket on individual gameplay. I was, when I was watching this team, I wasn't as convinced it was a team as it was, which admittedly is how it kind of came together. They all just went, yeah, let's just pick up these players and let's power through. I felt like this team just powered through based on some of the players just being very good. I felt like there were probably too many mistakes from them. They're not as clean cut as some of the other teams. And I think that's where they struggle. And I think, if I'm honest, that's where they'll struggle against Midnight. I don't know how well they've done in the last month of gameplay, but I feel like Midnight will be the better polished team going into it, which is why I would put Midnight above them.
I'm going to be intrigued to see who they've been scrimming, because they would have been in the US as well, which does help things. Obviously, Tommy lives over there now, and Linny has stayed over there as far as I'm aware. Just look at the brackets if you want to delve into that. Sicario beat Sage 3-2. Pretty decent result. That was that one where Linny got the 1v3 in, I think it was round 10. I don't think it was actually round 11, was it?
I think there was like, I don't know,
it
if
was
there
close.
was like a restart or something. It was strange.
I
don't know.
He got a 1v3 that.
Yeah.
I remember watching it like, how has he got away with that? Like, not even remotely. But then they beat the other team in this group, Fury, 3-0. So, and that's something you can take into consideration, I suppose. Then they went on to play against Team War and got smoked 3-0 by the looks of things. So I think, is that where their limit lies? Who knows? They then drop down. Sicario, where are you? And lose 3-1 to Sage. After beating them, if I'm correct. Yeah, so they beat them and lost to Sage. So, look, they're decent. They're a pretty decent team, but I absolutely agree with Brice. You look at their skill set, and we know what Chino can do. He hasn't necessarily had even remotely as good a year as he did last year. But, Tommy, it's champs. We know he brings it out at these big events. He's a big event player. He's been very good all year long as well.
I love Tommy, but he took a step away from this, and this is basically his run at champs to turn up again. In my mind, unless Sicario have found some slickness in the last month, Midnight are the better team here. Yeah. I think Fury Gaming good as well, but they're not solid. They're not. It's the same thing. If anything, Sicario and Fury, I see very much the same way, other than maybe Fury have got a little bit better chemistry, but slightly worse players.
I think that's probably a fair assessment. Like just to touch on a couple of interesting storylines here. Like last year at Champs, I'm pretty sure Vitality played against Lethal Gaming. There was that game on, I think it was a game 5 on, London Docks, where Zaptius just absolutely destroyed for a couple of rounds against Tommy's team.
Yeah, I casted it, I remember.
That team as well. Yeah, it was just absolutely stupid stuff. So like, if that's where we really started to hear about Zaptius as like, wow, like get this guy on a Pro League team. He's been frying. And then this year he's been a bit up and down, but as of, at Miami, from, what we saw, he was playing pretty damn well, and that the Pro League as well has been better. So yeah, I agree with the sentiment that Midnight and 100 Thieves should be the best two teams here. On like, it's just some of the names on Sicario and Fury, I feel like gives them upset potential, maybe more than they actually do. Just, I guess, my overall final thoughts is that I think 100 Thieves and Midnight will come out of it. I'm not convinced that it will be in seeding order. I think that if Royalty and Zap have unreal series, I think that they can beat 100 Thieves. And Midnight did beat 100 Thieves a while ago in the league. It was with a different team at the time, but they did overcome 100 Thieves in the Pro League a while ago with, Parasite and Llama on the team. I think Frosty wasn't on the team then, and it was a different squad. But like, these players have done it. Is it possible at Champs? I would say so, but unlikely.
I think that's fair.
I think so. Let's move on then. Let's move into Pool G for Optic Gaming.
This is
Optic
this is
Gaming,
an interesting one.
Evil Geniuses, Carnage, and Train Hard.
At this point, I haven't. This pool could legitimately go fucking anywhere. I honestly, who knows what's going on with Optic? Who knows if they fixed it? E.g., you don't know what team you're gonna get. They'll either be sick or they'll suck.
It's champs, baby.
Yeah.
Apathy, attached, cap.
Yeah.
You
Carnage.
never know.
You look at these guys. They had a decent run at Miami, beating some good teams. Train Hard are a team absolutely full of potential.
Mm-hmm.
I'd argue this is maybe the hardest one to predict. This or H, I would say.
Cool. Don't come in here with the negative Optic vibes.
Yeah, I know, but come on. I can't come in here with positive Optic vibes. Like, they don't currently exist. Like, there's nothing to say.
You are right though. They didn't win.
Karma's been frying with the Sorgin tens, mate. It's guaranteed Optic are winning champs. Have you not seen the Reddit comments? Yeah, I don't know.
I think the benefit is for Optic is the fact that they're in this pool with weaker teams than they could be. Like they train hard. I don't think. If you're being honest, right? Here's the honest truth with it. Yes, Optic did not win a map against Miami, but who didn't they win a map against?
No, they lost to good teams. They did lose to good teams.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like if you just go, yeah, they didn't win a map of the tournament. Oh well, look at them. They look shit. But if you say, oh well, this is who they didn't win a map against, I still would have faith in Optic because of the group they're in. Pool G is basically Optics to throw away. Their biggest challenge will be Evil Geniuses. I'm sorry, but I don't see anything coming really out of Train Hard or Carnage. I do not. At no point on this planet do I see Train Hard or Carnage beating Optic Gaming. This isn't a throwback to ESWC in 2015 or whenever the hell it was when Optic got shocked in groups. This is a team that have got a coach. They should be doing it well. They've changed back their roles, so at the very least, they should be better than they have been. Or, back to the old form, which was still, it was good. Not the best, obviously, not like 100 Thieves were. But Optic Gaming, like, to doubt them at this point, to doubt this group of players after a bad Miami, where they only played two fantastic teams.
It's not just a bad Miami, though, is it?
I don't get me wrong. There's not. No. Here's the difference. Here's what I generally believe has happened. Is this happens every time with Optic. And if you can go back to, like, Black Ops 2 or whatever, the same shit happened. If you don't see them dominating the competition, you don't think they're good enough. People got so used to the Optic era of them just crapping on people and winning event after event and everything, it being a big shock. It's too competitive now. It's not a standout team. It's not going to be one of the ones where, you think, a team can dominate all year. Even 100 Thieves going back-to-back was a massive shock. It's too difficult now for these teams. And Optic Gaming haven't managed to get all their ducks in a row completely. But the truth is, Optic Gaming is still Optic Gaming, and they're still those players, and they are still going to come top of this group.
I think I'm in Brice's boat.
I'm going to go put on my bloody Optic jersey. Hold on.
He just wants them tweeting them here.
Yeah, I would say, looking at these bottom two teams, I think maps can be dropped from 100%. Like Optic and EG.
Yeah,
I'm just like, it's just when you look at the placings, like the way these are filtered into the pool. So like Optic came like top 8 at playoffs, whatever. EG were like top 10 around there, and then Carnage were top 8, Train Hard were top 12. So it's kind of like in the middle of the road. But Optic and EG on paper, I think, are probably better teams than those placings suggested. I really cannot see a team of Scump, Krim, Karmadashi, and TJ like not at the very least making out this pool. Like as Bricey says. Yes, okay, they got 3-0 by LG and 100 Thieves. A couple of the maps were close. Let's say you just switch out LG in that series for Noobs, Vicious, Destiny, Charles, and Pentagram. Like, are they still like losing that series? Very, very doubtful. So, yeah, for me, I think Optic and EG make it out. I think Train Hard have a chance. I think both these teams can take maps, but like, I'm just looking at EG in it as well, and I'm like, this team the entire year, at least since they're formed, seem to always play better than the placing they end up with. And, with accuracy on the team now, a bit more experience. Apathy has always been a fantastic player at Champs. So is Attach. like JCap as well, twice world champ, exotics, and accuracy are the only ones that haven't won a ring on this team. So when you look at it from that perspective, and also on the whole, I think being a better team than their placing suggests, I'm looking at this like it should be relatively clear cut. Now, I don't know who wins really out of Optic and EG. Feel like it could very easily be a game 5 here. And if I was to pick a team that's better in search, probably EG. So I'm somewhat tempted to pick EG number 1, but like I don't think it's going any way other than those two qualifying.
It should. I agree. Now, I know I came in with a very hot take, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's still, yes, you absolutely believe that it should be these two top teams. Absolutely, 100%.
100%, yeah.
Realistically...
Said that before.
Realistically, I think that I could see Optic losing to EG, and EG potentially losing a game to Carnage or Trainhard. It could potentially happen for me. I just think that this group could be weird. I don't know why. I just look at it and I think Carnage had a couple of okay results, and Trainhard for me have a team that has potential to be a lot better than their placement in Miami was as well. Okay, if we're talking about calibers of players, we're talking about on paper, absolutely, you say Optic EG, no problem. But it's one of those ones where they both had weird years, and I feel like there is a small potential for a slip-up against one of these two teams. Shouldn't happen, should not happen. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't put it down there. I would not bet a lot of money on it happening. But at the same time, I just think there is potential for a slip-up if they are not careful. And I'm still going to say Optic EG, but at the same time, it's one of those ones I look at and think there is potential for an upset if these teams are not going to take them seriously. Because
I disagree.
Okay, you can disagree. I just think
I'll wrap this up in a package and put them into the bracket straight away.
I could be completely
wrong.
I could be completely wrong. I just think I look at Carnage and I look at Trainhard and I think more so for Trainhard, I look at that team and you look at some of the results they have had through the year, they've done okay. They've done okay in some of these teams, specifically the all-French team that we had, of course, before they got fucked. You see EG, yes, okay, they should be good, but they have had bad results, and I just don't know. I'm 99% sure, just not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm. It's like, just to answer Mr. Passion's question in the chat real quick, like Optic first played Trainhard, and like Optic are pretty much known for coming out slow in some of these early series. So I guess at least they're not playing EG. They played Trainhard first on the Wednesday, and then on the Thursday they played Carnage in the morning, and then Evil Geniuses is the last game of the day. So I don't really think they could have asked for a much better fixtures. Yeah. Probably the way you want it to go.
I think if they go up against EG first, they lose that, then it's like, oh shit.
And then it's like, got to buck our ideas up here, boys. So yeah, like I stick by what I said, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's move on then. Pool H. Splice, Heretics, Aspire, and Hybrid. This is group fuckery.
This is a fun one.
Heretics might finish fourth.
I don't know what's going on with this team.
Keep changing shit, bro.
I ripped into them. Miami's thing, and exactly what we thought would happen. We knew they were going to lose to whoever come out that side of the bracket. Heretics. I mean, okay, I'll just put this out. I'm going to get off Heretics first. Splice have not lived up to what we were expecting. Where, the hype around Hugh and Temp on the same team was massive. People are like, they can easily win the next tournament. They can do this. They can do that. They've not shown it. They've just not. They've not shown it. Have they shown that? I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying that, if they came top 8, you'd be like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. If they came top 4, you'd be like, they played pretty well. You'd be shocked if they won, champs.
I guess, yeah. I mean, like, I feel like they have the potential. Like, I feel like on Sunday it's... Yeah, I agree. I'm not predicting them to win champs by any means. Also, another factor to consider is that I don't think they're doing a boot camp before the event. There's a couple boot camps going on, but I don't think Splice have been invited or are going to be there, which is probably a relatively big deal. So yeah, like obviously Splice haven't shown the potential we thought. Well, at least I thought they would. I thought they'd be pretty damn good. Like Jerd's been playing pretty terribly by his standards the last couple of events. Now I don't know whether
Brice
that's
is going to be after you
individual form or I know But
You ever
whatever.
seen Jerd? He's like a predator, just running around the halls.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like, obviously, and Jerd at Champs is one of the best average KDs of all time, especially for his role. So, like, maybe this is the time. And I thought that Looney in that kind of captain role with all the egos on the team, like Tempernick, surely, an Aqua, difficult boys to maybe control. He's done it before. I thought that he'd be able to put this team and get the pieces all working together. Obviously, didn't work out in time for Miami. I think there's a chance it works out for Champs, but it's honestly minimal. So I don't think Splice are impenetrable by any means. I think they could get beaten by, well, I mean, if they completely lose the plot, which is possible, then they could probably lose to any of these teams, to be honest, because we've seen it in the league when they go for a listening and Temp's just like shouting at his teammates. Like, I feel like that's a possible absolute collapse, which just could happen if they get a bad start. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's another storyline that makes this pool very interesting.
I just think, everyone hyped up this whole Hook Temp thing. Hook is not being the player a lot of people expected this year. I still think that a lot of people speak about you speak to a lot of the pros and the best player they play against, Hook, he's amazing, etc., etc. I can name 3 SMGs that have been better than him most of the year. And we just have not seen that level of Hook that some people expected to see this year at all, to be honest. I think we've seen sparks of it here and there, but I think everyone expected it to be quick fix. Hook is not as good. I mean, it's easy to say. It's a different team, but with different responsibilities. But you look at like players like Dylan, you look at players like Envoy, as far as SMGs go, and he hasn't been close to those sort of guys. He hasn't been close to that level all year long. And
just to jump in real quick, I feel like sorry, but
I feel like that's what everyone expected him to be like. And he hasn't.
I know what you mean. It's just like what I was gonna say is that let's say you looked at like Envy or like the LG that hasn't done well, and you're looking at Gunless. Like we know what kind of player Gunless was in the first half of the year, and now he's stuck on this team. Yeah. We're like, and Gunless is having bad results. We're like, who the hell's Gunless? He's dropped off, right? But you kind of know that as a talent, he hasn't necessarily dropped off. In terms of, because I've always been, I don't know, I've always taken a stance on Hook, like, people say he's overrated. So many people say he's overrated that it feels to me like he's not actually overrated anymore, because a lot of people, like, have put him down to some degree, which I guess is fair enough. Honestly, if you look at the stats this year, he's still been very good. At Miami, he was still very good, even though they didn't have the best results.
Yeah.
I still think he's very talented. I think on a team that was doing better, then we'd be talking about him as one of the best. But it does have to be said, he hasn't won anything in Call of Duty. He hasn't been on a team like Simp has that's won an event, and you can say that he is the best SMG in the game, So that's always been very interesting to me. And if they don't do well this event, that'll be the number one thing on people's lips about Splice, like Hook's overrated, etc., etc. And maybe he is. So keep your eyes on it.
Yeah, we'll see. So let's nail it down. I'm still going to put Splice first.
Yeah,
it's the easy pick. It's the easy pick, right? It's the easy pick for this one. My issue is I have so little faith in Heretics at the moment, and I shouldn't, because they're still a pro team. They still have had a decent year, but I don't know. Actually, you know what? I just have so little faith in them. I'm not putting them in top 2. I'm going to put Aspire there. I think Heretics, I have no reason to believe they've improved. The best thing about them last time was when they made a mistake, they would change it back and they'd give it better again. They've got to be so much in their own heads now because nobody expects them to do anything. They don't have, many options left for them. So I'm going to put Aspire second.
It's a very reasonable call. I don't know what to think about Heretics right now, because like Vortex showed a couple of glimpses of some stuff. I feel like on paper this team is more skilled than the teams below them. I feel like Lucky, Journey, and Metals are fantastic players, and they've shown some good things. So that's why I'm still tempted to keep Heretics in the top 2. But again, it's just inconsistency and stuff that it's really hard to avoid. And then you've got Hybrid chilling down there with players that we know have done well and, have been in the league in the case of BZ, should have been in the league in the case of Spoof. That, there's an upset potential all over the pool here, and especially with the practice in the States that Aspire and Hybrid are getting, as opposed to, I guess, Heretics, if they are in Spain, which I guess they are. Then who do they even practice against right now? Because Giants released their roster.
Scrim and War.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've been scrimming against all the other teams over in Europe.
Sure.
etc. So they haven't been having as high level practice as you would like them to have. Not saying those other teams are bad, of course, but it's just a case of you'd rather be in America, of course. Yeah, I think it's difficult. For me, I look at Hybrid and I look at some of the team that finished second in Anaheim, and it's a very different roster now. I expected them to do significantly better than they did in Miami, and I think Aspire's a fair pick. They finished relatively decent. A couple of decent results. Again, expected them to do better. Both these two teams could have done better in Miami. That's my only worry for them, is that, yes, okay, for all that, we do slay Heretics and how far. I think one of the biggest annoyances is how good they were at the beginning of the year, and everyone was like, holy shit, this Heretics team are fucking 500 million miles an hour. It's great to watch, and they're sensational, and they're beating loads of good teams, and they changed it. And it's like, it just, from the outside in, it seems simple. Obviously, we don't know what goes on with their 32 coaches and what their decision process is, but I don't know. I still sort of think they could finish fourth, but I don't know. I think I'm sort of with Rab in the fact that I think they have the talent to finish second.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to put a pin in Paul H. And while we put questions in the chat, for all you people watching, love you guys. Let's get the last little bit done, and that is top 3 at champs on the spot. Let's go, Tunn.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
Fuck.
Oh, baby.
Right, so do you want theory, or do you just want me to throw it in there?
You can just throw it out there.
I'm going to say third, Genji. Second, FaZe.
Okay.
100T first.
Oh my goodness.
I think they win it. I think Miami is a slight blip. I think they will be gaining motivation from what happened in Miami. There is no chance Slasher hasn't gone through the very lot of them and said, you know what,
enough.
you were shit, and you were shit, and you were shit, and you were shit.
Jeez, this is tough. Like,
It's so hard. I was looking at the teams
so
like,
hard.
fuck.
Wow. Yeah, I was scrolling through everything. All right, like, okay, I want to keep up with my theory that it's SMGs that are going to define this tournament, which kind of implies me to pick E United to win it again, because I don't think Gen G are going to win. I kind of like Tunn's pick of having Gen G as third. Like, I would be, if they get to another final and lose, and I don't
Silver
think
Surfers, mate. They're Silver Surfers. They're great. They just
exactly.
don't
If they get to a final and win,
whatever it
I would
is.
be like surprised to be. I mean, maybe it's their time. I don't know. I'm not going to go for Gen G to win. I'm going to go for them third. I kind of like that pick. And then we've got 2 more. I'm not going to put 100 Thieves in the top 3.
Oof.
I think like that's my bold call. And then, but then the rest of them, I don't. Okay, all right. I'm going to go second, FaZe, and E United to win it again.
Okay.
So same as me, but you know,
I'm going to go.
He's going to say I'm thinking.
Is the jersey out
United, FaZe, Genji.
Genji to win it,
mate?
Or E United first. Yeah,
E United for E United.
Oh, you just copied me. Like, all right, I respect it.
It's funny enough. I deliberately didn't listen to you because I didn't want you to influence what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I was having a lot of trouble there because I wanted to put Thieves in the top 3, but I felt like I couldn't drop Genji out of the top 3, and I felt like FaZe could go a bit further. So like that was my whole rationale for it, which is why I was trying to deliberately not listen to you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I didn't get biased a different way.
But I feel like 8 teams could win this event.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. There's a lot of people who could win this. I look, honestly, if FaZe, this is super theoretical and hypothetical, but like, if FaZe had played how they did on Friday, Saturday, on Sunday, there's no way they don't win the event. They were insane. They were so good, and then they sort of just. But we know they have the potential to be the best team on the game. I think if I don't know if Brice is going to ask me for a dark horse.
Yeah, let's do dark horses. Let's do dark horses quickly. I'm going to pick a dark horse of reciprocity.
Motherfucker! That's what I was going to say.
I knew Brice was going to go first to steal all that dark horse.
I'm actually going one further. Dark horse final. Wreck FaZe.
Yeah, it could happen. It genuinely could. It genuinely could.
Number 1, number 2.
I think they're both. Dylan is just such a big factor. It's actually insane how good he. I think like there's all this conversation of Simp, Envoy, Dylan, etc., but I think the ceiling for Dylan is higher, whereas I feel as if the other two are maybe a bit more I want to say consistent. I don't know. It's hard because Dylan's consistently.
Dylan's more flashy. You watch Dylan and you're like, this kid is a monster. Whereas you watch Envoy and you're like, damn, he's frying, and he's got a 1.3, but it feels somehow more measured.
Yeah.
And then Simp is like,
whereas Dylan's like, fucking. What are you
yeah. Dylan's more like, it feels like Dylan's more impactful because he's just quicker, and he's still doing it. You know. Like there's something about him which is just mesmerizing, like not just his looks, like, but yeah. Okay, Dark Horse. Let's choose something other than reciprocity.
I don't know what Brice is doing here, but I'm interested to see.
I was going to say, is he just getting his jersey on? Course.
Other than reciprocity.
All right, other Dark Horse. I'm going to go Splice. That's my other pick.
LG.
That's yeah. When this team first formed, I tweeted like Splice are winning champs, just so like when they do, if they do,
so you
I can look like, but no one else will remember apart from the people watching.
As far as optic goes, I don't think it's gonna. It would.
Like,
if it did happen, I would sort of really enjoy it though, because I think it would be such a nice way to end.
To win the first and the last, you know, that'd be quite cool.
Just because of everything that's happened. What were you doing?
Well, for the first time during the podcast, I actually need to go to the toilet, so I thought I'd just slip away.
What do you put the thing on the cam for?
Like,
well, it seemed easy to slip away that way.
Well, so nobody noticed.
Yeah, we had no idea you'd left, mate. We thought you were still there.
Me and Rab were discussing potential other dark horses.
Yeah.
LG, Splice.
Yeah. I went for
That's what we
Splice, Tom
came
and
up
LG.
That's the first one I've ever had to leave the middle of. Anyway, let's move on to the questions from the chat. Am MVP, or who do you think will be the most standout player? Are you talking about like out of the amateurs?
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, which team's going to make it out of into
Vortex
bracket?
It could be Vortex. I think you know you got to look at the obvious one, and the problem is they're technically like all pros. Like I think Bance and
I'm gonna go Nasty.
Bequeathed, Nasty looked really well. Some of his stats were good. You're talking about like a 1.3 in Surge or something like that. But yeah, I think that's good for them. Like it's going to be an obvious player. I don't think you're going to see maybe a new player make a name at champs. It's difficult.
I mean, you got to make out the groups like to make a name, right? So
Chain again could be in there. He's very, very good. He was great for the boys actually.
I rate him so much. Like.
He's so good.
Let's have a look at the questions. Biggest pool upset? I think we covered that. I can't remember who we said though.
Biggest upset? What are we?
Let's go for Pool E. Could be like UAU not making it out. Just any pro team that doesn't make it out. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't think in A and B it's an upset if like Team War and the boys make it through. I think it is to a point, but it's not a massive upset. You know, these are teams who are very closely seeded technically. So,
yeah. Draft buff tournament. I mean, possibly
Spitfire one. Apparently, there's going to be a few going around.
We could do one. You know, winner gets on the show for the post.
Not a bad shout.
It's a pretty good one. Yeah, we do that. Yeah, so let's have a go with that. So yeah, we'll try and do it. Which AM team did make it the furthest? I think we kind of accepted. We thought it may be the boys. If they get out, the same with Team War, they have a possibility to go far.
And it's a toss up between the top three teams from Miami's War Boys and Mesa.
Depends how the brackets fall, you know, because like if the boys make it out, like let's say they come second, I mean, like that's tough, isn't it? You're playing Gen G round one, if that is how it works, A versus B. So I mean, you know, tough, but that's how it is.
Yeah, I think so. Let's talk. There was a great question here. I can't remember. I saw it. Do you know if there's any reason between the units and the boys not still having an org? Who says they don't?
Yo, oh my god, that's what you're shooting in, boys.
Can't be, and I can't say any more than that.
Can't say anything, but I can't wait.
I didn't have any of this intel.
Oh, we do.
It's
great. It's great. I hate to rub it in.
It's great.
It is great. It is great. I'm not even going to tell you which of the two it is. But it is great. When you see it, you'll be like, "Yep, that's pretty great."
I'm sure it'll be pretty great.
The fans are going to go mad for it. I think the fans will love it. But we won't say any more than that. I'm not even going to say which one of the two it is.
Who was the two that said? Was it
units and boys?
Oh, right, Eunice. Oh,
Because we know, but we don't want to say anything about it.
Hi,
Hey,
Shay.
Shay Sweeney's in the chat. All right, Shay.
There he is.
Good time to come in, mate.
No, it's not Red Reserve. It's not Red Reserve.
Ah,
Imagine the units under Red Reserve. That'd be
Dial
unbelievable.
Esports making a comeback, baby.
Oh, Jesus.
Christ. Let's have a look. Do you think Crimsix will break the record for most tournament wins? I don't know. How far off is he?
What do you mean break the record? As in like
A console tournament
Like,
wins.
console, okay, sure.
He's going against Ogre 2, isn't he? So
Ogre 2 has like, I mean, it's 42 or something. I don't know. It's in the 40s because that's like the whole point of the pursuit, and he wants to get 40.
Yeah.
So it's like something around that. I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. Like competition nowadays, Crimsix is not the player he was, probably. It's like, you know, they won one tournament this year. Let's say they can win one tournament every year for the next like 5 years. Then Crim's going to be on what, like 39? So, I mean, you know, tough. How many tournaments are there even going to be? We don't even know. Either going to be open?
Yeah.
So I don't know. So
I'm looking at it here now. I'm on esports earnings, and I was looking up. Technically, Crimsix already has the prize money thing, which is obvious. But the problem, I think, is that technically they've got Crimsix down as a champion for 85, which is clearly wrong.
well, they've just counted like 2Ks.
That's what they've done. They've counted fucking online tournaments and shit.
Yeah.
Fucking pro downs and 2Ks and all that crap. Because so it looks like it says 47 here.
Okay.
But I don't know if that includes some onlines.
Well, I mean, if Crimsix,
But most of his look legit.
Yeah, I doubt it'll catch Ogre 2. I think that like esports has moved on from that. You know, when events are happening all the time, especially how COD's going. So
yeah,
doubtful.
Do you think this last time OG team played under the banner? Actually, here's the question. I haven't heard any intel on that regard at all.
No, there's the thing running around at the minute that they could still be called Optic if Optic don't exist outside of the Pro League anymore, which they probably
Well, no,
won't.
Optic does it. It's a franchise name, isn't it? Optic is a franchise name.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it is. It is a franchise name. It's Optic LA.
Oh.
They announced it, didn't they?
Well, have they? Like,
Well, they haven't announced like the actual team name, like because Dallas, like Envy's team, we don't know what it's going to be because the Overwatch League team is called Dallas Fuel, but it's like, what are they going to call their team?
yeah.
Like that hasn't been announced yet.
I'm sure we discussed this because Optic tweeted out they have the LA spot and it's something like LA Optic. Because they're
That's the rumor, and I think it's possible that can be the case if Optic doesn't exist anywhere else.
Exactly. Then they can be called LA Optic.
But like, I don't really. Do the players want to play for that Optic? Like, I don't know.
Am I living in a fucking parallel dimension here? It was announced by Optic.
No, I think you've lost the plot, mate.
No, it was announced that Optic had the spot of LA. I don't think it was officially said this is our team name.
But why would you announce? Why would Optic bother announcing they've got the spot if they're going to name it something else?
It's because like the Optic brand has bought the spot. I
There's
guess
still
I see
a
what
lot
you mean.
going on behind the scenes.
As far as I'm
Like
concerned,
Immortals have the spot.
LA Optic,
Yeah.
or Optic LA, or whatever the hell they were going to call it.
Yeah, that's the rumor, I guess.
Because the whole thing, we did a bloody thing on Spitfire about it. The reason that they were allowed to do it is because Optic doesn't exist outside the league.
Yeah, but it's
It
still
hasn't been like confirmed. That's like
it?
I don't think it's.
I don't know. I don't think you're Immortals and you just bloody announce it if it's not confirmed. Oh, no official team names have been released. I thought, oh right, okay, yeah, now I get what you mean.
It's like Some
Some of them are obvious because they're basically named the same similar thing. All right, okay, all right, I'll go with that one. But they didn't say they were called Optic. They're gonna be called Optic. Come on, you don't announce you've got it under the Optic
I know,
brand.
but you
if you're
don't
not
know
calling
what's
it
going
Optic.
on with like Hex and whatnot. Still, like, who fucking knows?
Yeah.
All right. I stand corrected, but I still think it's gonna be Optic LA or LA Optic. It's gonna be one of those.
Right.
I think you might be on the money.
It doesn't make sense anyway. All right, let's have a little look. Any other questions? By the way, hello Shay Sweeney in the chat. We spoke about you, Shay, for a little bit. You missed it.
That's what you missed. You missed people theorizing around
How you're going to
organizations.
Yeah. Boys at the Rec House. Don't know. I'll come back to Shuff Rate again. No. Face money. They face black money. Nice. I never said that either.
Paralyzes question.
Yeah, isn't it understated how this is the last World Champs 32-team format with AMs, etc.? I mean, nobody has confirmed that. And I've heard that. I don't know whether the World Champs will return. Will they bring it in? Because I like Champs. But it does seem to be moving towards...
There's nothing stopping them, I suppose, if however many franchise teams they end up getting. I know they want 12. If they get these 12 teams and say, right, here's another 12, or however many, amateur teams who can qualify for this big tournament against them all, I don't...
Yeah, good point. To be honest,
I don't think would there be anything stopping them doing that? No, I don't think.
I mean, is it possible, though, for like some of the teams, like an Envy, for example, to also have like a contenders team? And then, then you'd have issues, wouldn't you? I think maybe in Overwatch, that's the case.
Delving into league
some orgs like own, a pro and a contenders spot, and then like having them both play is immediately problematic. So, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Hope so.
Bloodsport gaming down well, I absolutely agree. Bring them back.
Yeah.
Is UK getting a franchise spot? No idea. No idea.
I mean, like...
It's not looking positive.
Nah, really
From what I heard, it's not looking positive.
We've heard goings-ons, but nothing concrete.
No, I haven't heard anything official in the rumblings.
Mm.
If not, Spitfire whip round. Let's get everybody. We'll
start
GoFundMe.
This is after we get some sponsors.
If all our viewers just put forward $1 million, we'll laugh.
It's about everybody in the chat right now. If you put down $1 million, we'll be good.
I mean,
we'll all have to. We'll run it via Spitfire podcast as well. We'll just each week have a meeting. All right, who are we dropping? All right, let's bring this to a close. Then it has been another great episode of Spitfire. Rab, any final thoughts?
Just looking forward to Champs. Honestly, that's kind of like got me thinking about the amount of changes we're going to see next year in Call of Duty. This year's pretty much been the final year where things look anything like they will be looking to the future. So yeah, I mean, this is the final tournament we might be seeing in a more traditional manner for a very long time. I don't think even you guys really know what things are going to happen next season. The changes are going to be enormous. So yeah, I guess we have to say goodbye to a pretty big bit of Call of Duty history, how things go next season, and we'll see how it goes from there. So emotional final thoughts.
Yeah. That was going to be my kind of thing, is that everyone's talking about Champs, no one's talking about that this is about being the greatest roster mania of fucking present memory.
Jesus Christ, yeah. Our off season is actually going to be roster mania.
Where's CoD Burner when you need him, mate? Wow.
Mate, Rab, the content's going to be on. We've got so much to talk about. It'll be great.
Tunn?
Bring him back.
Nothing particular from me. Obviously, we did sort of do a little bit of research on whether we could have get a live Spitfire Champs, but it's
fly me out, boys.
It's not so much guests. It's getting the equipment and whatnot. So we're disappointed we couldn't do that, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, but we're super excited for it. We'll be doing an episode when we get back. No episode next week because obviously we're over in LA. But episode when we get back, which I think I will want to say is the end of our second series, because it will wrap up the season.
No, it isn't.
Do you not want to do it that way? Because it wraps up the season and that's it, it's done?
No, because we've only done 10 episodes, mate.
It doesn't matter. It's about
11 episodes. We'll start with a new game. That makes more sense.
I know, but I was thinking off season 3, and then season 4. Because season 4 sounds like we've been doing this for years.
No, new game.
No? Oh, okay. Right, well, fuck it. We'll wait until the new game.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're on the YouTube, obviously you can check us out live when we're live. Leave your comments. I did read some of them, actually. One of them said hi to me. So I appreciate that. And I do go through the comments and start to reply now. So if you are watching on the VOD, jump in. Other than that, thanks for all watching us. And I know this is the end of our stuff. And this is Spitfire, and we've been going for a while now. So thank you for watching. We'll see you after the biggest tournament of the year.